right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here today with pro wrestling deathmatch icon, a legend in the business, possibly the reason I am as big of a wrestling fan as I am today, Madman fucking Pondo. How are you doing today, man?
What's up? I'm hanging out, man. How about you? How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited. Like I told you off camera, big fan of yours. I grew up watching you in the IWA, down in South Charleston, West Virginia. In a little gym beating the shit out of Sabu and New Jack and Too Tough Tony.
I was there.
I'm gonna dive in, man.
Stop.
Like I said, I know you from the IWA. I've heard on other interviews you're not a big fan of Ian Rotten.
I mean, I was the main event for the first 3 months of IWA Mid South, and in the end, depending on who you talk to, if you talk to me, if you talk to him, if you talk to me, he more or less shunned me. If you talk to him, I was a big piece of shit. I don't know what happened, but the day I stopped working for IWA Mid South, I was running a company IWA East Coast, and I had an Asian wife at the time who accidentally didn't put $10 of Ian's money in his envelope, and he sat me down in my locker room and talked to me for about 20 minutes in front of everybody about how he should never be shorted his money. I'm like, Ian, let me just go get it. And I went and got it, and I handed it to him. It was all good. So the very next time that I worked for him, on the way there, I had a Walmart phone that took a card. So he had his handler, Vince, buy me a $50 card so that my phone would still be active. I was supposed to get 200 that night. Yeah, I was supposed to get 200 that night. He bought the $50 card, and then he came at me with an envelope with $100 in it, with his hands out like this, saying, "Don't worry, it's $50 light. You're not going to have to come find me. I'll come and find you." And this is after the conversation that he just had with me. And then, of course, he never found me. So for the longest time, I thought $50 was a good price to have Ian Rotten leave me alone. So I left it alone. And then he started running IWA Mid-South again and booked another piece of shit named Mox Harley and never even asked me. So after that, I was done with it, And then we had the problems here recently, and I just don't understand. I gave my body to this man for so many years, and just for it to just be like, fuck him, he's a piece of shit, as him talking about me. But I don't know. That's my ending of IWA Mid-South story.
Fair enough. Back in the day, I've never heard anybody talk about War Pig. Okay, when I was a kid, I was scared to death of War Pig. Do you have a War Pig story for us?
So War Pig, so the guys helping me do IWA East Coast, going out and helping me flyer and all that, was a group of guys that called themselves the 108 Dragon Ninjas. And
I've heard of them.
Yeah. And one of the 108 Dragon Ninjas was a guy named Carter, who maybe he is now, but maybe at that time was not IWA East Coast material. So, but everybody wanted, those were the guys helping me advertise this shit. They wanted him on the show. So I revamped the guy. I took him out of the Carter, I can't remember, Atrocity. He was Atrocity. And I took him out of that, and I bought him a pig mask, did all the shit. I put my other buddy Goo, who was a very good talker. He was the doctor. And then another little hot chick named Nikki, we made her the nurse. And it was like the island of Dr. Monroe, like the doctor made this pig man, and we was giving him 5-minute job matches forever. I don't know if you remember, but he would just come
Yeah.
in and destroy people. Right now, with him just destroying people, he didn't have to have placement. He didn't have to have promo. He didn't have to have nothing except going in there and beating guys up for 5 minutes. And next thing we did, Spike Dudley was a friend of mine, and Spike Dudley was listed as the Giant Killer. So I asked Spike to come in and wrestle our Giant, which was the War Pig. I don't know if you remember this match or not, but
I was
Spike
there.
Spike Dudley did the job to the War Pig, right? And we're talking about Spike Dudley beat Bam Bam Bigelow. He beat fucking, I don't know, all the Giant, and our Giant beat Spike Dudley. He's a good friend of mine. I'm trying to, I always looked out for IWA East Coast and always excelled my talent, and I knew that Spike could lead War Pig along, and you saw the match. It was great, right?
It was. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, that got in Carter's head, and next thing I know, Carter wanted to be a pro wrestler and wanted to wrestle longer matches. And I'm like, Carter, you're over as a motherfucker doing what I have you doing. Why would you want to, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Well, of course, he started doing 10-minute matches, 12-minute matches, and I don't know if you remember right, but they just were not the impact of the 5-minute killer War Pig, and I don't know, it just fell off. But I love the guy. Carter's my friend, but I had it to where, and just like you being a fan of War Pig, trust me, that was me. That was me saying, Carter, get in there, do this, finish him with this, and but since then, Carter, I don't know, he's doing something with a French hat, and he's doing better. But back then, maybe to me, he wasn't up to par. So that's why War Pig was killing guys in 5 minutes.
That was a 5-6-year-old me, like terrified. Absolutely. I remember crying. That's what I tell my dad all the time. We talk about like IWA East Coast, especially like in that, like I said, the southern part of West Virginia is where we mainly saw it. Like War Pig, anytime, immediately I'd be scared to death. Going back, another fond memory I have, I believe you did a Taipei death match.
I did.
Okay. I remember this match because it was the first match that was so violent. I was in like the second row, threw up everywhere. I can't remember who you had the Taipei death match with. I'm not gonna lie. But I remember
I've had a few, so I'm not sure which one you saw.
Who did you have them with? Because I remember Ian. I was walking down the hallway, and it was Ian and Zach Gowan were in the hallway, and I threw up, and they were like, "That's awesome." And then I go back and I finish watching the end of the match.
So Ian was
I know
out
it wasn't.
in the hallway?
Yes.
See, man, I've had my brains beat out for so many years. What was famous with the Taipei death match was I always wanted the guy to have the glass on his fist and punch me over my eye right here. That way, I would keep my hands out and let the dude do the deal. And then, of course, it would always start bleeding with my hands out. So everybody knew, oh, shit, that was legit. But like I said, man, I've done so many Taipei death matches. There's no telling who that could have been. But
I know I tried to go through like your cage match. They have you on Cage Match, the website, and I tried to go through and find who you had this against. I couldn't find it. You have thousands of matches.
Yeah.
But
so that's hard to pinpoint that one,
It is. In those thousands of matches, you faced thousands of people. Who would you say, are your top guys that you went up against, man?
Well, I can tell you number one right away was Terry Funk at the 2015 Gathering of the Juggalos for the JCW title. What an honor. Like, the guy put me over. I was JCW champion because I beat Terry Funk. I mean, how many motherfuckers can say that in this world? I got to wrestle the Great Muta. I got to wrestle Jerry the King Lawler. Um, Necro, me and Necro, we wrestled each other all over Japan, all over America. Toby Klein is probably one of my second favorite. Like the Terry Funk, that's hard to beat, but Tournament of Death, I can't remember the year, me versus Toby Klein. So I would always go after the guys that people were afraid to wrestle. Like, I couldn't wait to wrestle Vader. I couldn't wait to wrestle Manny Fernandez. I couldn't wait to wrestle. I always Perry Saturn. I always went after the guys that people were afraid to wrestle. That way, that Pondo's fucking crazy always stuck in people's mind. So Bull Payne. Man, just so many. But top five. I mean, of course, Terry Funk. I would say Necro 2, Mr. Insanity 3, Muda 4, just because it's the great Muda. And then number 5 would have to be Mr. Danger Masanaga, because he was the guy that I was watching to do this stupid shit that I do today. I had a compilation tape of Mr. Danger versus Mr. Pogo, and I wore it out, watching it and just studying. And now I'm on first name basis with the guy. Every time I walk into his restaurant, he's like, American Danger Man, So that would be number 5. And that's not in any order. Like, from 1 to 5, that's hard to determine. But those five would be the.
Got you. I've heard like a lot of people's reasoning behind doing deathmatch wrestling as preferred to just the traditional professional wrestling. What would be your reasoning behind deathmatch wrestling? A lot of people see as extreme and dangerous, but you've made a living off of it. So what shows you to go that route?
So let me go ahead and tell you that in America, I was number 3. All right. Ian and Axel did them in ECW. Ian left ECW. Axel didn't want to do them anymore. And then Madman Pondo came along, and me and Ian went all over the fucking United States with them. So, you remember the pay-per-views in your house?
Yes.
Okay. Me and a whole bunch of friends, we used to rent those. Like, we'd all pour our money together. They were $60, $70, some odd dollars sometimes. I think the in your houses was $50 every Sunday. We would rent those, but I would always notice that it was kind of a waste of money. We always watched the main event, but the other matches we was always like eating pizza or bullshit with each other, But the main event we always watched. After we got done watching the In Your House pay-per-view, it was always the same thing, because I was a big tape trader. Do you know what tape trading is?
My dad's told me about it, yes.
Tape trading, back in the day, if I had something that somebody else wanted, we would send each other a videotape, and it was the honor system. Like, sometimes I would send a videotape and not get one back, never deal with them again, but I was the guy that in my little hometown that had all these. They didn't even have a name then. Now they're called deathmatch wrestling tapes. But back then, my friends would always, after the In Your House pay-per-view, would say, put in one of them bloody videotapes. So I would put one in, and I would notice all my friends' eyes were focused on the TV. Like, nobody was talking. And then when something would happen, the whole room would be like, oh, and I'm like, if my friends is impressed with this shit, I can do this. So that was my the reason that I got into deathmatch wrestling.
Nice. Going further, let me just go look at my notes. You've been to Japan. What
A lot.
got you over there, and what would you say like are some favorite moments of your time over there, man?
So a company called MRW out of St. Louis, Missouri, run by Mike Rogers and Big Ben Oliver. They put me versus Abdullah the Butcher. And again, I like going after the guys that people are afraid to go at and go to wrestle. And Abdullah was on top of that list, So Abdullah sat me down and he said, "Hey, champ, what do you get? What's your deal and all this?" And I told him what my character was, and we went out there. Now, when Abdullah's done with his match, he's fucking done. Like, he wants to sit down, he wants to earn his money, he wants to go home. The first time me and him wrestled, I'm sitting in the back and I'm waiting for him to come through the curtain to tell me, critiques on what I needed to do and all this. No, he came back there and he snatched me up and he goes, "Champ, let's go back out." And we went out for another 5-6 minutes, just, terrorizing the building and making crowds run that we were coming at him and stuff. When we got in the back, he said, "Man, champ, you need to be in Japan." And I'm like, "Oh, I would love to be in Japan." And he said, "I'm getting ready to go to Japan in," I can't remember if he said 4 or 5 days. He's like, "But when I come back, if you have a videotape at my restaurant, the next time I go to Japan, I will take it with me and see what they say." Well, the minute he said that, I couldn't sleep. There was no waiting for that next time. I went home, got home very, very late at night, got 2 VCRs, made a videotape, went to my local post office. That I was the first one waiting in line. Overnighted that videotape to his restaurant, and within 2 days he called me and said, "Damn, champ, you really want to go to Japan, don't you?" I said, "Yes, sir, I do." So he took that videotape to Japan, showed him, and then next thing I knew, I was in Japan. I was Abdullah's boy. So I was, I wasn't just somebody coming in. Now I'm listed as Abdullah's boy. So, and then later on, I got put with the CZW guys, and that was from 2000 to 2008. Then I went back 2014, and now this will be my 40, coming up September the 26th. I'm going September the 26th to January 6th for 3 months. That will be trip number 49. So one more trip, and I've been to Japan 50 fucking times. A lot of wrestlers wish they went once. I will be one of those guys that have been 50 fucking times. So, man, I'm a big Godzilla fan. So going to Japan and, just Godzilla merchandise. I went and watched, me and Dale Patchers, we went and watched Godzilla -1 while we was in Japan. No subtitles, couldn't understand a fucking word. It didn't matter. It was a Godzilla movie in Japan. We went and watched Godzilla X Kong in Japan. And every once in a while they'll put together throwbacks. I went and watched Godzilla versus Destroyer in Japan. Just so here's the thing about Japan. You can go to McDonald's, and the minute you walk through the door, they're saying "Eshimashi," which means "Please let me wait on you." You get up to the counter, they're smiling. Once you make your order, they run to go get it. They run it back. And when you open it, when you open your sandwich, it looks like the picture that's above, as opposed to coming to America and they're like, "Yo, what you want?" You know, and then you open your package and you're lucky if the cheese is in the middle, and you know, as Japan's just so much different, so much. In Japan, McDonald's is a job. I mean, here in America, getting a job at McDonald's is pastime, waiting on the next job that you can do better. Now, some people do go on to manager. I'm not running down McDonald's employees in America whatsoever, but in Japan, it is a job, and they are very respectful to have a job. Therefore, it might as well be a restaurant, not just a fast food joint. So there's that. Going to Mr. Dangerous Steak and him being the cook, you know, and his steak being the best steak that I've ever had. Going to Ribera and collecting jackets and taking my gaijin friend, my foreign friends to Ribera and them getting their jacket. That's kind of my thing. That's kind of my job. I always make sure that gets done. Tokyo Disneyland. I mean, it's Japan, man. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, but if you got questions, I can answer them.
I've never been. I've heard that, you know, wrestling over there is taken way more seriously. And over here, I feel like in the States, we don't take it seriously enough. What would you say the difference is over there, you know, how wrestling is viewed there as opposed to here?
I would say that when Vince decided to bust out what we do, call us sports entertainment, I don't think Japan either understood what Vince was talking about or gave a shit. Okay? So when you wrestle in Japan, it's still a sport. Like me and the other guys will be walking down the street and taxis will pull over to get the taxi driver will want to get our autograph. We get free meals some places. Sometimes we can't go to eat without people wanting our autographs, but you have to realize Japan is an island where America is a fucking country. Japan is a small island, and we're on Samurai TV over there all the fucking time. So when you're in Japan and you're a wrestler, I don't care if you're on the lowest or the highest group, you are a star there. Where here, I don't consider myself famous here. There's A list, B list. I'm in the middle of the alphabet somewhere. But over there, I jump up a few letters, jump back a few letters. Sorry. So and just when me and the other guys, the other foreigners are selling our merchandise, we always have lines. I have sold out. Sayazawa always makes my t-shirts. I have sold out of all my t-shirts 3 times in a row. So, and look at me. Why would anybody want this face on their t-shirt? But they do, and they buy them. So, yeah, the respect level in Japan for professional wrestling is way higher than it ever will be in America ever again. And I blame that on Vince not wanting to pay tax or wanting to not regulate wrestling or not want to pay a commission and deciding, okay, this is my announcement. We are now sports entertainment. Dumbest fucking move ever.
I agree. You said you're about to go for your next tour?
Yes.
What do you got in store for, you know, the wrestling community going over there this next time?
So me and Dale Patrick's. So for the past 4 trips, me and Necro was Bakugai Gene. And of course, I was bringing other Americans with me. and one Canadian, Green Phantom, came over. But it's my goal for the guys who's having trouble getting booked places. Those are the ones that I look at and say, hey, come to Japan. And when you get back, maybe promoters will start noticing you more. But for the past, four past times, me and Necro was Bakugai Gene. And I don't know. Shout out to him. He's doing so much better now, but he took a bump on the floor and he exploded his hip bone. So Dale Patrick's was over there, and he was supposed to go home, I don't know, a few days more, but he stayed. He stayed, and he took Necro's spot. So now me and Dale Patrick's are Bakugai Gene over there. And now that Necro is wrestling again, and I watched his return match, I didn't watch it, but now he's XPW champion. Shout out to Necro for overcoming. I mean, this guy beat cancer. Now he's wrestling again, and I know he didn't get the surgery, so his hip. I mean, that's a modern day Superman right there, just to keep going like that. So, but when Bakugai Gene hits the ring, I always grab the microphone, and it's always the same line. I always, and all the Japanese people follow, and then I yell BJW, and everybody cheers, and then I say, "This is Del Patrick's son. I am Madman motherfucking Pondo, and we are." And then I pause, and then I say Bakugai Gene, and the whole arena starts chanting Bakugai Gene. I mean, we are doing something over there that is getting noticed by the Japanese people. So to tell you what to expect, I don't even know until I get over there and stupid thoughts hit my brain of, oh, I can do this. I can do this. For the first 4 trips, I was 332 pounds. Now I'm 222 pounds, and I'm coming off the top ropes. I'm moving a lot faster. So basically, I have no answer for your question except stay tuned, because me and Dale's going to rock this shit.
Nice. I want to, I'm going to jump back a little bit. In IWA East Coast, another name I remember is Too Tough Tony.
Yeah.
I know you guys have been linked throughout your wrestling career. What could you tell us about Too Tough Tony?
Me and Too Tough Tony, we just wrestled for, we was the JCW team versus the GCW team. And when we got done, we looked at each other and we said, dude, we still got it. We still fucking got it. Like, I challenge anybody to watch that match. It was me, Tony, and Briar Wellington versus Effie, Dark Sheik, and Manders. And we rocked the fucking house. Violent J walked us out, and then he went and did commentary. And now coming the next gathering of the Juggalos, it will be JCW versus GCW. And yeah, like, that was the first time that me and Tony tagged in front of Violent J. We wrestled each other 100 times in front of Violent J, but this was the first time we were, I mean, we still had Briar with us, but me and Tony did a lot of tag things, and Joe was like, man, you guys look like, you guys are a unit. And we was like, well, yeah, that's what we've been that for a long time. Tony was I was the first Bakugai Gene member. I was the one who came up with the shit, but Tony was there. Therefore, me and Tony was the first 2 Bakugai Gene members, and we rocked it then. So, yeah, that's what I can tell you about Tony, that we just wrestled together for GCW last Friday, and when we got done, we looked at each other. We was like, we still got this shit.
What can you tell me about your experiences working with GCW? I've heard a lot a lot of positive and negative things. But what's your experience working with those guys?
Brett has never fucked me out of nothing. He doesn't book me as often as I wish he would, but I get it. I don't want to stay at one company. I don't want to stay at GCW. I don't want to stay at ICW. I don't want to stay at Horror Slam. I don't want to stay Ruthless Pro. I want to work for who I want to work for. So sometimes when ICW has a show, GCW does not. When GCW has a show, I stay neutral on the shit. Like, I get it. I don't dedicate myself to one company except for two. I am JCW all the way. If JCW has a show, whatever show I'm on, I will cancel. I'm sorry. I owe this to JCW and Big Japan. Those are the two companies that if they say, Pondo, we need you, I'm there. All the other companies, I like paying bills. I like eating meals. But, I don't want to pinpoint myself down to one company. And I get it. Therefore, not all of them book me all the time on that. But I haven't had a bad experience at GCW. They put me in their Hall of Fame. They let me induct J.C. Bailey into the Hall of Fame. I've wrestled Matt Tremont New Year's Day. New Year's Eve leading into I can't remember. It might have been after New Year's. No, because we all hit the ring. It was New Year's Eve, and we had a great match. I wrestled Sawyer Wreck. Apologies to Sawyer Wreck. Just all. I haven't had a bad experience at GCW. I just wish that they would book me a lot more, because Brett is the guy who can put GCW is going to be in Tampa, Florida, and sell a shitload of tickets before he even announces a match. Not a lot of places can do that. Brett can do that, and always have big crowds, always good merchandise sales. So I really haven't had a bad experience at GCW.
With talking about GCW, there's somebody there that calls himself the Deathmatch King. How do you feel about Matt Cardona calling himself the Deathmatch King?
So let me tell you about that. So he was calling himself the Deathmatch King, and I thought, what better way to further that than to beat the 2003 King of the Deathmatch, me, right? So a guy named Mel Havoc was running shows, and he booked Matt Cardona to wrestle me. And I went and did Gary Dameron's ASW. He put me in his Hall of Fame, and Jeff Jarrett, Chelsea Green, and Matt Cardona was all there. And I went to Matt Cardona, and of course he shook my hand. Hey, Pondo, how's it going? And I said, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to August. He's like, what's August? And I said, we're wrestling each other, for Mel Havoc. And he goes, oh, I'm wrestling you? And I said, yeah. And he goes, oh. And that was it. And that was the end of the conversation. And next thing I know, he was in his hallway on his telephone. And then a few minutes after I left that venue, I get a text from Mel Havoc saying, hey, I don't know what's going on, but Matt Cardona just texted me this. And he sent me the text, and it was Matt Cardona's manager, which I think is Matt Cardona. And it said, hey, I would love to come in for August, but we're not really interested in a Madman Pondo match right now. So if you could give me a different opponent, that'd be great. I have no idea what this man thought I was going to do to him. All right. I'm one of the easiest deathmatch workers you'll ever meet. I've heard that 100 times. And when I got that, man, I was like, fuck. I was just trying to help this guy out with this King of the Deathmatch name that he was going. And so Mel actually took, I hate that word actually. Mel took me off of his show for August because he was afraid if I was there, Matt Cardona wouldn't show up. Therefore, I lost a booking out of it. And then Matt Cardona canceled that booking, but then it was too late to get me on the show. So, number one, that sucks. I got knocked out of a booking over that shit. Number two, what did that man think I was going to do? I'm not a killer. My deathmatch shit is much as work as Nick Gage, who I saw him wrestle, and John Moxley, who, I don't know, but I never really spoke to him much after. Like, me and Chelsea Green are friends. We knew each other before her and Matt got together, and I would hope Chelsea would tell Matt, hey, Pondo's a good guy, but I'm not running Chelsea down. I mean, maybe she hasn't said that, but I don't understand what Matt Cardona thought I was going to do. And I've seen him on other shows, and I don't approach him. I don't know how he feels about me. And this last JCW show, at Harpo's in Detroit, he was the commentator, or he was doing something, the commissioner or something. And he come over to me. He's like, "Hey, Pondo, how's it going?" And I was like, "Hey," and we was very short with each other. And then he went on, and we didn't have. So if Matt Cardona, if anybody knows him, tell him to listen to this and have him next time he sees me. Like Colt Cabana was doing when I flew into Texas for JCW. Me and Colt Cabana was riding together in the car, and I told him the story, and he was like, "Oh, well, I'll tell Matt you're a good guy," And then I saw Colt pass that. I don't know if he told him about it or not, but yeah, Matt Cardona, I'm not a killer. We can have a good match. Would you stop being a bitch? Let's do this.
We'll push it. Maybe this will get you that Matt Cardona match.
Please, let's do that.
To move on, I've always been interested in ICP and JCW. What's your experience working with those guys? Because I know, outside looking in, a lot of guys don't like them, but you seem to love them.
Why. I don't know why people don't like ICP. They have ran JCW for, we just counted it. Me, Tony, and Violent J rode to GCW together, and we counted it. If you include Stranglemania Live and Hellfire and from JCW Town Now, that company's been running 27 years. And with the Legends show alone, you've had the Outsiders, you've had DX, you've had the Rock and Roll Express. Let's go on. You've had Abdullah the Butcher, you've had Terry Funk, you've had Dusty Rhodes, you've had the Great Muta, you've had Ultimo Dragon. JCW, in my estimation, has brought in the biggest stars of professional wrestling. So I have no idea why anybody would hate on JCW. But but things have changed. ICP used to be known as the most hated band in the world, and now, as of September the 7th, was invited to the MTV Music Awards, where MTV before would not play an Insane Clown Posse video, now invited them to their awards. Violent J mentioned to me that it was his dream to wrestle in Japan at Corrigan Hall. And I told myself, this man and Shaggy 2 Dope has made so many of my dreams come true. The minute Violent J told me that, I'm like, I'm going to do this for him. So I went to Japan. I fucking told him what I wanted to do, and when we got to Corrigan Hall, it was me and Violent J versus Kakuta and Hoshino, and you know, he made my dreams come true, so I made sure that I made that man one dream that I knew about come true. And I mean, I've been to all 24 gathering of the Juggalos, so you can imagine the shit that I've seen over the years. I love JCW. Just like I said, two companies I'm dedicated to, Big Japan and JCW.
Got you. Just like I forgot what I was gonna say. My bad. Actually, if you want me to be honest, took a chair shot the other day to the head. Been a little messed up since.
Who gave you that chair shot? Ah, can't hear you. Something happened. Your volume is out. Your lips are moving, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you now.
Actually, it was my little brother that got me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got me good, actually.
I see it. I see it.
Did an interview yesterday, completely blanked out through like half of it. So
All right.
I respect you for taking, 35 years of headshots?
35 years, June 24th, 1989. Yeah, 35 years. Craziness, right?
Yes, sir.
And I see guys with muscles and shit like that walking around with ice packs on their shoulders, and here I am, no muscles, been fat for years, and I'm just sitting in a chair like waiting for my match, So yeah, I've been very fortunate.
Just starting to wrap things up, 35 years in the business. Do you have any dream matches that, you would like to maybe see coming, or, that were supposed to happen and didn't happen? Like, what would you say dream match opponent would be?
Matt Cardona would be a dream match, just because I want to help him along with his King of the Deathmatch story. I'm 2003. I've wrestled Takeda in tag matches. I'd like to wrestle him in a single match. I'd really like to wrestle PCO, and that got booked, and some got fucked up with that. Like I said, I go after the guys that people hate to wrestle. So PCO is one of those guys that have lost a fucking nut, just like I have, and will do whatever it takes to make a match good. So number one request would be Matt Cardona. Number 2 would be PCO. Number 3 would be Takeda. Actually, at my age, anybody who says yes is a dream match to me anymore, because I am surprised that I still get booked like I am, and it seems like business is picking up for old Mad Man Pondo. I'm booked all the time now. I'm doing Tournament of Death Saturday, and then flying to Denver for Slave to the Death match, and then flying to Japan. So, yeah, man. That number 1 would probably be Matt Cardona. Number 2 would be PCO, and number 3 would be Takeda in a single.
Gotcha. Those are excellent. PCO, I've never heard that one before. I've heard a lot of your interviews. I've never heard PCO, so that one's a shocker. To wrap this up, I like to wrap things up with
Brandon Kirk. I'd like to wrestle Brandon Kirk too. Sorry, go ahead. Wrap this up.
I usually like to end it with, giving the audience some advice. And as a pro wrestler with 35 years in the business, I'm sure you have advice on either how to get in the business or what to stay away from in this business. What would you like to give the audience there?
I get asked this a lot, and this is what I always say. What does a professional wrestler and a large Supreme Pizza not have in common?
What?
A large Supreme Pizza can feed a family of 4. So whatever you do, don't think you're going to get in this business right away and just start making big bucks. Like there's a handful, maybe 2 handfuls of guys who's done that, but always keep your job. That's not an insult. That's not a knock on anybody. Always keep your day job. Always keep your night job. Yes, do what you can to wrestle, but you still have to eat. You still have to pay bills. And in the beginning, wrestling don't always do that for everybody. Another thing that I'm going to say is get your face shown. Don't stay only in your 40-mile radius. The wrestling world is too huge now. There's 5, 10 different companies in every state. Get your face shown. If nobody knows who you are, nobody's going to book you. Eat some shit sandwiches in the beginning, jump in cars, go to some shows, show people what you got. Money will come later, but I'm not saying if you're broke, go even broker, but I'm saying if you got buddies going to a show and you ain't got a damn thing to do, don't be a star. Become a star. Get in that car and go to shows and let people see who you are and see what you got. That's the biggest 2 pieces of advice that I give out.
I love it. I love it. Thank you once again. This is an honor.
I got 2 things. Corey Higdon over at Deathmatch Worldwide started a webpage for all deathmatch workers to sell their t-shirts. So you can go to Deathmatch Worldwide, and every deathmatch worker you can think of probably has a t-shirt on there. There's 8 or 9 fucking Mad Man Pondo t-shirts on there. Go and pick up a t-shirt from Corey. He's a good dude.
It's called Deathmatch Worldwide.
Deathmatch Worldwide. Yes.
I'll put a link in the comment down in the description.
And a guy named John Cosper wrote a book about me. Well, we wrote a book together. I told him the stories, and John Cosper wrote the book. It's called Memoirs of a Madman, and you can get that on Amazon.com, or if you want an autographed copy, you can go to eatsleepwrestle.com and talk to John Cosper. He has copies that I've autographed. And if you do buy one of those and you come to one of my death matches, I will take my thumb and I will give you the old bloody thumbprint on the first page. That way, someday when I'm not around and people figure out how to do this Jurassic Park DNA thing, you can always make your own Madman Pondo out of it. So I will give you the old bloody thumbprint on the first page. So that was t-shirts, deathmatchworldwide.com, or the book, eatsleepwrestle.com.
Got you. I will put a link to both of those in the description. That way they can jump right in there and get those.
Cool.
Thank you, Pondo. This was an honor. Definitely the reason I'm a fan, man.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully maybe we can do a part 2.
Let's do it, man. I'm so full of shit. I got more to say,
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Pondo.
Thank you.